Anybody would like to pull? If not, is there a motion to Dr. Robinson?
I think I need to say on the record that I'm putting SSEA 3 back on consent.
Consent. Okay. Seeing no other items, is there a motion to approve the consent? Mr. Barbieri, second by Mrs. Whitfield. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, all opposed, motion carries 7-0. So we'll move to new business. As we do, there's one item that was added on new business that we need to do, the good cause statement, and this is P2. Good cause exists for adding this item to the agenda to allow the employees impacted to start in their new positions as soon as possible. And at all of our board members, we take time to recognize the families of employees who passed away during the last month or so. And we have 3 we'd like to recognize tonight. Diane Clodfelder, who was an school office assistant at Palm Beach Gardens High School, born in 1960, passed away in December of 2017. Blanca Figueroa, a school treasurer at Westwood Elementary, born 1953, passed away November of 2017. Larry Johnson, a day-to-day sub in the district school pool, born in 1955, passed away in October 2017. So if we could take a moment of silence in remembrance of these employees. Thank you very much. If you haven't refreshed your agenda, you can, and it should show that item going back on. So we're ready for new business. Dr. Vosa.
New business, COM 5, Human Trafficking Awareness and Prevention Month proclamation. I recommend the board proclaim January 2018 as Human Trafficking Awareness and Prevention Month.
Is there a motion? Motion by Dr. Robinson, second by Mr. Barbieri. All in favor? Oh, we got a discussion first. Mrs. Brill, sorry about that.
Thank you. And the reason that I pulled this item is I think that this topic is far too important to have it buried in our consent agenda. And so I'm asking for your indulgence. I would like to read the proclamation into the record so that everybody knows what it says. The proclamation states, for Human Trafficking Awareness and Prevention Month, January 2018. Whereas human trafficking is a modern-day form of slavery, and whereas human trafficking is a borderless crime against individuals that violates the most basic human rights and deprives victims of human dignity and freedom, and whereas human trafficking is a growing global problem, and whereas Florida ranks 3rd among states in the number of potential reports of human trafficking to the National Human Trafficking Hotline, and whereas the most serious form of human trafficking involves the exploitation of children and youth for commercial sex acts and forced labor, and whereas 1/3 of human trafficking cases reported to the National Human Trafficking Hotline involved minors, and whereas it is imperative that our young people and their families learn to recognize risks and resist predators who use coercion and threats to manipulate children and youth into labor and sex trafficking. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the superintendent and the school board of Palm Beach County do hereby recognize the month of January 2018 as Human Trafficking Awareness and Prevention Month in Palm Beach County, and urge all community members to be aware and report any suspicious activity to the National Human Trafficking Hotline. And I just want to close by saying that if you suspect something, it's again one of those cases of see something, say something, reach out and say something, because the numbers of victims in Palm Beach County is growing each month. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Brill. Any other comments? If not, we'll call the question. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Dr. Vosa, next item, FMPA 5.
I recommend the board approve the amendment to RFP 16C-005A for travel agency and tour operation services for the period of January 21st, 2018 through April 22nd, 2018, and authorize the superintendent and board chairman to finalize and sign all necessary documents.
Is there a motion? Motion by Mrs. Whitfield, second by Dr. Robinson. Mrs. Whitfield, you pulled that item.
Thank you. I just wanted to discuss this item. I'm not going to vote against it, but when I was reading this item, I came across there's a document as a part of our backup, and it talks about who is going to benefit from this this contract. And one of the things that I noticed was that the people who will benefit most from this and the companies who are who own this are not in the state. And it just really kind of bothered me that we were going to send so much money out of state. So Mr. Burke was very kind and actually looked into this for me a little bit more. And so what I learned from it is that 19 vendors are awarded under this contract, 10 of which do have some representation within the state of Florida. But I just think that maybe we should be considering where we're sending our money to. And I wanted to bring that up to my fellow board members because I don't think with how expensive it is to live here in Florida, especially here in Palm Beach County, that we shouldn't be looking at ways to keep as much money as we get here among our parents. So I really think this is an important issue. I just wanted to bring it up as a part of this. Again, thank you to Mr. Burke for bringing this up to me. I think one of the ways that we could tackle this would be not to prohibit people outside the state of Florida from being able to win a bid, but just to give additional preference to them. So maybe one more point on their application or something like that. So I'd love to, I don't know if we could do a workshop about it or whatever we need to do to look into this, but I wanted to bring that forward to the board. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Dr. Robinson?
So what I hear and I support is taking another look at the potential for local preference policy. Now, I think we have local hire, but what I'm hearing you say is a local preference to weave into our other programs. So I certainly believe that we should take a look at that again.
Any other comments? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Dr. Vos, the next one is
FMP F1.
1.
I recommend the board receive and accept the monthly contract and disbursement report as submitted.
Is there a motion? Motion by Mrs. McQuinn, second by Mrs. Whitfield. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you. So I'm going to receive and reject this report because we are just not living up to expectations in terms of sharing the wealth. So we went to the voters, we went to the community, I went to the community to support the sales tax referendum. We talked about improving our processes so that we would share the wealth and build more community wealth, have our parents have more income so that they in turn can support their students more. And we're just not making enough progress. And I am very aware of how short-staffed we are in the Office of Diversity and Business Practices. I think that is contributing to this this low number in the report. I know that we are making progress in terms of processes, but it's not reflected in these numbers yet. And so I'm just going to vote against these reports. I'm going to receive and reject these reports until I see us increasing the numbers as we promised the community.
Thank you. Any other comments? If not, we'll call the question. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 6-1 with Dr. Robinson voting against. That concludes our next item is P2.
I recommend the board approve the personnel addendum as amended.
Motion by Mrs. Brill, second by Mrs. Whitfield. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. That concludes our regular agenda, so we'll move to speakers. We have 5. I'll call 3 at a time, and please come up and, again, be aware of the time limits we have. Carl Muhammad, Jack McWalter, Elena Cartwright Harding.
I want to say welcome back to the team for 2018. But, you know, as I look at the playbook in which all of us are playing out, and I see that the new play that's been pulled out is graduation rate. And I wanted to remind us that we still know that there's a great problem with the curriculum. There's a great problem with really servicing those children that are non-immigrant blacks here in Palm Beach County, and particularly here in the state of Florida. And to those of you who are board members, I'm sure that you are aware, because you haven't been brought up to snuff as of yet, to the wonderful things that we've developed here in Palm Beach County as a result of trying to take on such a task. And as we look at the graduation rate, and we see that the movement supposedly of African American children, we know that there's an important piece of luggage that is missing out of that journey, and that is the knowledge of ourselves and the idea of a proper education in public education. And we're still asking, at least I'm still asking, if there's some kind of direction showing us where we've tried to resolve this problem of the Florida law, Florida Statute 100.428, and how it is impacting the school district and what we must do in order to improve what we're trying to achieve. Now, there are those of us inside of the community that are trying to assist the school district of Palm Beach County, because we do recognize that you are the leaders inside of the state of Florida relative to the movement of that Florida statute. But we are holding this coming next Saturday at this, at Kennedy out in the city of Riviera Beach, at Suncoast. Next week, we're going to be doing a first responders meeting, and we're going to need the support of those individuals that you know that might have a sincere desire to show some love toward African American children. We need you to invite them out so that we can give them the idea of some of the things that we've developed as tools of having a relationship with the school district that haven't been transferred as of yet. And that was the reason why the superintendent task force inside of the community haven't as of yet been dissolved, because we believe that our family need to be told about some of the things that happen as a result of us having the idea of putting all these things together. And I hear where there's a lot of organizations that apparently are doing things, but they're not reporting those kind of things to our community, and we're not understanding any of the movement. So maybe I might be in error, like I always say many other times, and if I am, it would be greatly appreciated if we could get some kind of real idea of what is taking place as we try to look at the problems of those non-immigrant blacks. And we need the data to show that the school district is actually making some systemic changes to help us so that we don't have to continue to have Dr. Robinson do a Black History moment. We'll be able to have our babies to have the benefit of that kind of knowledge being shared with them. Now, on next Saturday, we're going to do we're working along with the Superintendent Task Force for the community. We're working along with the Black Educators Caucus. We're working along with the Equity and Access Department here at the school district. We're working along with Ms. Granger, Ms. Kashamba Miller, who's the chairperson out in the city of Riviera Beach, and Mr. Brian Knowles. And we have hopes that all of you as board members have someone within your ranks that you can send if you can't make it yourself, so that possibly we might start some activity inside of your districts so that we have something that we can talk about. And please, every time I come, it's for the benefit of the school district of Palm Beach County, because I do believe and I appreciate what it is that we're trying to make an attempt to do. But I also understand that we're talking about the worst part of your school district, and we're talking about the greatest problem to ever exist inside of education, and that is to help us get our balance with the problem that are plaguing the non-immigrant blacks. And I thank you for your time, and I'll leave a few seconds on the clock.
Thank you very much.